When I have athletes coming into my office who are really struggling to improve their performance, 9 times out of 10, they're training too much rather than not training enough. So let's take a look at 5 key markers that you can use to see if you're training too much. So this is something that I see all the time. Athletes who are on self-guided programs or making things up as they go along, they're training really hard, but they're not improving their performance. So if your performance isn't improving and you're putting in all this hard work, have a look and reflect on your training and see, are you actually training too much? And you could do with a little bit more recovery. So here are 5 simple markers that you can use, or sort of key points to look at when you're doing a little bit of a self-reflection of, are you training too much? First of all, take a look at your microcycles. Take a look at the volume of training each week. If your volume of training is just consistent, so it doesn't change much up or down, you're just doing the same amount of training, say it'd be 10 hours a week every single week, then it may be that you're training too much. What we really want to do is have changes in the week, so maybe a moderate week, then a very hard load week, and then a recovery week to allow the body to adapt to it. If you're just training moderately hard all the time, often the body adapts to that very quickly and there's no further adaptation, so it's not actually improving your performance. So some weeks you might need to bump it up, and other weeks you need to back it right off. So consistency and performing the same training every week, week after week, is not always a good thing. 2. Do you suffer from constant colds, flus, or repetitive injuries? If you do, this tells me that your immune system is being compromised by all of the stress hormones that are stimulated by the training response, suppressing your immune system, causing repeated runny nose, sore throat, chesty cough, that sort of thing. And if you're getting recurrent injuries, it means that the body's having too much structural load put on it, overloading those tissues and structures, breaking them down, causing those niggly little injuries. So if you are getting consistent or constant colds, flus, or injuries, take a look at your training. You might be training too much. Third one is about heart rate suppression. Now, I've made a separate video on this earlier in the Whiteboard Wednesday, so shoot back and take a look at that. But if you're out there training, say you put in a hard effort, or you're going up a hill or whatever it is, and you feel that you're working quite hard, but your heart rate just won't come up. This is a pretty good sign that your heart rate has become unresponsive to stress hormones. So if you're pumping out a bunch of adrenaline as you're doing that interval, and your body's trying to get that heart rate up to supply the blood to the muscles, but the heart rate's not responding, it's become unresponsive to adrenaline. So even though you're bombarding it with the stress hormone to improve its rate, it's just not doing it. It's exhausted. It can't bind any more adrenaline to increase that heart rate. In that case, you need to take a break. You need to rest, recover, let the body soak it up. The 4th one is a dramatic decrease in weight. Now, this is not day to day, because your weight can fluctuate quite a lot day to day based on hydration, nutrition, and training load. But think about sort of your average weight over the week. If you get a dramatic drop in weight over multiple weeks, sort of think about if it's any more than 1 kilo per week. So if you're thinking like anywhere upwards of 1 kilo loss per week consistently, it means that your body's not able to, it's not getting the nutrients, it's not getting the fuel, everything required to rebuild and improve its performance. So if you're getting that consistent weight loss, everyone's like, yes, I'm losing a bunch of weight, but it can be very detrimental to your long-term performance. So keep an eye on your body weight, and if you're getting those massive drops, just be aware that you might be training too much. And then the 5th one would be take a look at your training diary. And if it's been more than 3 weeks since your last recovery week, you're probably training too much. even in your base cycles when you're doing long steady training, you should be having a recovery week around about every 3 weeks at the very, very minimum. So if you haven't had a recovery week in 3 weeks, I'd put my money on it that you're training too much. So there are 5 easy to look at key indicators that you might be training too much. Have a wee reflection on your own training, run through those scenarios, see how you get on. If you've got any more questions, please keep them coming. I want to keep giving you the good information so you can train harder, but most importantly, smarter.